Hello friends, welcome back to a new video. So here, my topic of the discussion is about immigration. As Indians, we know that we are trying to immigrate to almost every places, every first world country in the world, right? I don't consider that our own country is a third world, but maybe you can say something that belongs to a second world as per se. So you can actually see very, comical sayings also. I still remember one saying that says like, "टूटा हुआ फ्रिज और कनाडा गया पंजाबी दोनों वापस नहीं आएगा," which literally shows like the amount of Sikhs in Canada, right? Even in Trudeau's cabinet also we find quite a few. You find the Sikh community almost everywhere in the world. They are a very affluent group among the overseas Indians. Like migration had started even during the initial phases of 20th century. From history onwards, we can see that historically also we can see many incidents like Komagattamaru incident and the parties like Gadar Party were there in the San Francisco Bay. That shows that the overseas community was very much prevalent at that point of time. So like initially they came there as kind of an economic migrants. Then they, through their hard work, their second, third generation has become very much of an affluent communities. Even now also we can very well see that from Punjab, the amount of people migrating to places like Canada, Australia and all. So, and very recently also when I was thinking about doing this video, I was hearing in news where a boy who had committed suicide. When I went into the details of it, I could see that the boy had actually financed a girl to go to overseas, Canada or Australia. And once after she reached there, she didn't reply his calls or things like that. So the boy's family was finding like this as a kind of an alliance, so that the boy's family will fund the girl and they will get married. Once she reaches there, she will take the boy also as in a kind of a spouse visa. But it did not happen, and the boy committed suicide. So it was a very, very strange way in a way to a suicide to happen. So my intention is actually to do a video on immigration, right? See, I myself have traveled to continental Europe in 2015. I have been to Southeast Asia in 2013. Like continental Europe, I have traveled France, Germany, Switzerland, Italy. I have also gone to US in 2018. So I have quite a bit of international exposure, and I have seen how immigrants live there in many of these places. And being in the limelight of social media, like people like you are also aware of it. But why is there a mad rush for these kind of so-called heavens? See, because if you look into it, every nation has projected its soft culture in a particular manner. I'll tell you the difference between the hard culture and the soft culture. See, for example, in India, you can see Bollywood and yoga is a kind of a soft culture because it projects the good cultural elements of our country. Similarly, you can see in 1980s and all, the Hollywood movies and all projected a kind of a dreamland as America that made people think that if you will reach America, you will be having a better life. But many a times, if you move into the streets of New York, you can see people walking, sleeping in like cardboards there. I have seen with placards showing that please give food for my family. I still remember in 2018 an incident where being in New York, I was there in a kind of an Indian restaurant to have food. I saw a man who coming to me. He actually wanted some free food there. He used to sleep in the street, and he used to ask me like, do Hindus and Muslims get along well there? What about BJP? Like, it's a Hindu nationalist party. So many things. I was thinking like, how would a person like this know about these things? So he said like he was basically from a sociology background. He used to be a lecturer at one point of time. Lately, there was one lady who married him for citizenship. Basically, once you are a spouse, you get citizenship easily. And then afterwards, she divorced and left him. He went through a trauma and depression, and he lost his job. And he's actually living in the street. So there are many people like that who are living in the street. And ironically, we hear stories about people from Punjab. Some of them, I still remember a story where one person tried to bribe around 25 lakhs. You imagine 25 lakhs is spent to actually get into the US through the porous Mexican border. My God, you just imagine. So you are actually thinking that when you reach certain places, maybe they do not know what is the ground reality. Maybe they think that okay, people are having a better lifestyle from here. So by hook or crook, you just reach there. And many of these nations have a basic good amenities, but you have to understand you have to go there as an immigrant through legal channel. That is one thing, and very most important is that you should be a skilled immigrant, and that is where I am coming to the point. Because the issue is like if you are not a skilled immigrant, how would these countries use you? Because you have to understand most of these countries have very less amount of population. That is the reason why they want immigrants. For example, areas like Canada, you can see a very cold country, right? Very cold country, and around 80% of the population of Canada is almost close to the US border. And rest areas are like you have the indigenous tribes like Inuits and Eskimos, but mostly others are in that border. So people they want people to actually come there and contribute to their economy, and they have pretty high amount of taxes. Believe me, compared to taxes in India, the taxes are pretty high, but they will have a kind of a social security, and you have to do a very good hard work for it. Okay, that is not like being in, and you will become at some point of time, you will become a citizen, you will have voting rights, you will have a say in the government, you can be elected also, right? You can see second and third generation Indians, many of times they are part of the bureaucracy, and also we have people like Kamala Harris in US, and many have been like district attorneys, judges and all. But these people are having the fruit of the hard work that their parents or grandparents did. So when you are going there to these countries just for the sake of making some money or things like that, it may not be that good, because you are actually leaving behind a fortune that can be made here. I'm not talking about skilled immigration that happens in a very less manner. I'm talking about these kids who are leaving this nation just after they're completing their graduation. I will go to UK in a student visa, I will work there for some time, but many a times it is not happening and the impact is going reversed. See, for example, quite some time ago I saw a news that people in Canada, many students in Canada living in shelter homes, right? Many shelter homes because they could not get a proper accommodation, right? The rents have actually skyrocketed. They could not find a proper job, and many of the students actually do work by the time they are studying also. And their major thing is not studies. First of all, you have to understand they are just there because they want to immigrate to these countries. And many of the times you can see the people who are going for MBBS or people who are going for some courses in Ukraine or some in Hungary. Why would they do that? Like Eastern European country, very similar to India in many ways. But these are part of European Union and they can emigrate to Europe in the future. But see, the problem is like what is happening? How many of these immigrations have become successful? And many a times what do these people, students have to face? The indigenous people at some point of time feel that the people from outsiders are coming, their culture would be lost, their job opportunities would be lost. And you can see a high amount of racist attacks also. Many a times against Indians, which is reported in Canada and places like Australia and all. So my intention is like this, right? I've just put an example of this. See this. You feel that, right? Okay, you are bringing the people or that country like this. Okay, from outside it may look okay, nice, beautiful, white colored. But what are they maybe using this for? They may be using it to just to clean their ears, right? Once they use it, they will throw you out. Many times that is the problem that is happening. You are not able to leave that country, live into that country because you are not able to find a fruitful income, fruitful job. But at the same time, you have a huge amount of money that you have actually taken from here as a loan, and you may have mortgaged something, you may have mortgaged your land, and then you are going for these things. Students are in a kind of a catch-22 situation, in a dilemma. They do not know what to do. So that is where you have to understand. Don't be like an earbud. Don't be like an earbud to these countries or certain universities which thrive on Indian students. There are so many sham universities like that. I would not say they are sham. They are provide substandard education. They just need students, and so that the local economy can flourish. Lots and lots of them are there in the hinterlands of Britain, in inner areas of like Australia and all. And students, when they land there, they are not able to find a fruitful job. or a fruitful income. So that is what I want you to think. Only my intention is this: if you are going as an immigrant to a country, just understand this thing. That country needs you. Nobody is running this for charity. Everything is a business. That country, if you are, imagine you are going there, you are clearing a GMAT. Okay, GMAT exam, you are being in a good university there, you have been like an international student there. So that is different. You are going there as a skilled immigrant. The country will respect you, the country sees a future in you, and they will absorb you. Otherwise, you are just going there for studying some course and doing some work. They will ooze you out, they will suck you out and throw you out like this earbud. And you, within our country itself, could have made a better fortune. And don't think that India is such a bad thing. Because believe me, I have been to places like Italy, Milan, Venice, and all. Like you go into the hinder roads, I would say that is very similar to that of India. What exactly is that different? Maybe in many of the places in India also, many urban areas, we do have a lot of good opportunities. And when you are landing in a foreign country, you have to do everything from the scratch. You have to try for like the citizenship, you have to get a permits, driving licenses, and you have to get an apartment to stay. And at one point of time, you will have a say in that country because you are not a citizen, you are an alien, right? So you will never have the rights of a proper citizen there. So keep all these things in mind while you do go for an immigration. And when you go for an immigration, always see one thing: be a skilled immigrant, right? Not an economic immigrant, right? I'm not talking about the refugees, believe me, don't confuse it with the refugee issue. I'm not talking about the refugees. When you are becoming, even if you are becoming an economic immigrant, make sure that you are skilled enough. You're skilled enough to provide a better future to the country that you go and to yourself as well. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day. Take care.